Okay, thank you for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Just a little housekeeping item here. Really, for your best results, go ahead and close other programs on your desktop. View this in a full screen. All of our lines have been muted today and will be for the duration of the webcast. If you would like to ask some questions, you can do so via the chat window. And then also we'll have contact information provided to you at the end of the webinar as well. So hello everyone, my name is Kelly Jo Drilovich. I'm a solutions architect with Delphia Consulting. In my previous life, I was a payroll and HR manager. So when we go on and discuss things, please know that I've walked in your shoes before, and I know how tight those shoes can be at times. But I've been this side of the desk for about 6 years now, so it's very nice to be with you guys today. So let's start out our conversation with regarding recruiting to talk about what are you currently doing. So in our discussions with a lot of our clients, we find that many of them are still using paper applications and file folders. And I know how that was the method that I used when I did recruiting for my organization. Other groups are also using their inbox. So you may have published or have a specific email address for your recruiting jobs at XYZ company or something like that. And then you may even use subfolders within that for specific openings, trying to just gather and capture all of that information and give it a place to live, as it were, via the inbox. Okay. Other things you may be doing is maybe you've got a career page on your website, and perhaps you're having IT is posting that for you when you have a new opening. Then you've got to remember to get them to take that down when you filled it, that kind of stuff. Maybe even your IT department has created some sort of an online application for you guys, and maybe it is, dumping everything into an Access database or something of that nature. Again, better than nothing, but doesn't really have the workflow, and you may have other issues with that as well. Other organizations maybe are using a web-based subscription service that maybe it allows you to capture, a resume and let those applicants voluntarily report that affirmative action information. So again, it's better than nothing, but maybe it's not that fully featured workflow that you guys are looking for now. So now let's talk a little bit about some of the requirements that would really identify you as potentially a good fit for the Cyber Recruiter product. So your group may desire to be able to create a requisition and have it go through an approval process online. Maybe either the recruiter or the hiring manager could start that out. You may also desire to have it post automatically to your website without having to get IT involved to do that, and subsequently when the position is filled, perhaps you'd like that to automatically be removed from the website. Maybe you'd like integration so that once you've created it, it could post to specific job boards that you have accounts with. And then you may want to move to that, having applicants apply online. I think the next level of that is being able to ask requisition-specific questions during that online process. You may want to have a portal for your employees to apply online, or perhaps to refer someone. Employee referrals is an excellent source for finding new employees. It always ranks very highly in all of the statistics that are published by SHRM, et cetera. A very good way to find them. You may desire a system that enables you to route these applications with a few clicks of the mouse to your hiring managers or others that are reviewing the applicants. You may also really, I think the core here is you really want a single spot to track everything, whether it's by position or by the applicant itself, really looking for that one size or one place to put all the documentation in regard to a specific position or everything on an applicant. You maybe also want to be able to track and schedule those interviews, and then I think the flip side of that is, do you have an evaluation form after you've done those interviews? Wouldn't it be nice to have one? Wouldn't it be nice to have one that does some scoring on it so you could easily see how these applicants ranked? And finally, you may desire, or not quite finally, I've got another one, you may really want to have all of the correspondence, again, kept with a record, utilize templates so you're not having to recreate the wheel each time you do it, and then finally being able to transfer all this data over to your HRMS system so you don't have to manually enter that information. And I think the last one, I got a little premature, is of course having reporting to talk about your time to fill, cost to hire, affirmative action reporting, all of those good things. Well, if you answered yes to any of those, I think you're going to be really pleasantly surprised with the Cyber Recruiter product. So just some highlights here. It is browser-based, so it's accessed by the recruiting management staff and the applicants via a browser. It's what I term browser agnostic. It can be Internet Explorer, Firefox, Safari, Chrome, etc. You're maybe looking for a system that's process-focused. Cyber Recruiter is very process-focused, and it works with your process, so you don't have to totally change the way you recruit in order to fit into this. It is offered in 3 different versions, really to meet your needs. We'll talk a little bit on the next slide. We'll show you what some of those options are in the different versions. And it's very configurable, so you can easily, the HR administrator here can modify the layout using these wizards, email templates, things of that nature, so that it really reflects you as an organization. It is designed to be paperless from creating the requisition through the offer letter. It doesn't mean you can't print it out. It just is designed to be paperless. And it's licensed on the company size, not the number of users. And I'll put a little caveat in there when we get into the professional and enterprise version that allows for an unlimited number of hiring managers to have access to the system as well. But you could have the express version, and you may have 5 people doing recruiting that you want in there, and that's all covered. So this screenshot is just a brief snapshot at some of the different options available in the 3 versions. The express version, all of the versions are fully functional recruiting system, from the opening of a requisition to the onboarding. They all have configurable screen layouts and content and workflow. Where we get into the needs of an organization desiring using like an agency. So perhaps you're using an agency to recruit for some of your C-level positions. Maybe that is not in your organization. Maybe that doesn't fall into the area of expertise, or you don't want your current recruiters doing that. So if you're using an agency portal, we could, or desire to use one, we can really limit what they see as far as only positions you want to let them recruit for. The advanced parsing, we use this when we've got the ability for creating a applicant profile to import the information off of their resume. So this advanced parsing is used in that, and that's available in the professional and enterprise versions. Ad hoc query report writing tool, so being able to report on every field in the system. Advanced posting, so we've got integration to the top 5 job boards. If you would like to do some advanced posting to specific job boards, there is a service for that. And again, you would need to be on the professional or enterprise version for that. As I mentioned earlier, giving your hiring managers access to the system, that is in the professional and enterprise. And again, they would only be able to see the information you want them to see, perhaps only positions they're the hiring manager for, things like that. If you're going to want to track employee referrals, again, professional or enterprise. And then the enterprise, the next few items maybe you are an organization that has multiple companies, different lines of business. You would still like to be able to utilize it as a centralized repository for all of your recruiting endeavors, but you want to have separate job boards, workflow set up for that, and things of that nature. That would have you fall into the enterprise version. I would say 90% of the Cyber Recruiter sales we do really fall into the professional edition. But that doesn't mean that the Express is not a good, it just depends on the requirements you have for a recruiting system. Okay, so this next section, I think it's easier to portray some of these functions via this PowerPoint. So I just want to touch on a few of these features of the system, how it works via the PowerPoint, and then we're going to jump right into the system. So never fear, we'll get you there. Okay, so whether you as an organization have or want to have your recruiters create a requisition, or perhaps you want to let your hiring managers do that, they can go through an approval process. Now we've got 3 different ways to create a requisition. It can either be created from scratch, so the recruiter or the hiring manager fills out absolutely everything about this requisition. You could copy from an existing requisition, maybe one you've closed, and then make some edits and change some items. Or you could use a template, and I think this is one of the most popular features of the system, and our users really like this. So the positions you hire for more frequently, you may want to establish a template, and it can have all the information except for maybe who it reports to, and be able to change some of that when you go ahead and create this. So regardless of which of those 3 ways you choose to let your organization initiate a requisition, we have this approval process in here, or can have. You don't have to have it turned on. Most organizations like it. So let's say we've created one as a recruiter, and we filled it all out, and now it is going to route to an approver via an email. So this is, you determine who this approver would be in your organization. And this is an example of the email that would come over, and it's what I like to term an actionable email. So directly from the email, the approver can accept or deny this particular requisition. They can scroll down, see all of the information on it, and once they have approved it, the system gets updated, time and date stamp with that approver that they approved it. If there's any notes they would like to add to that, it would be added. And then if you have additional approvers in the process, an email would then launch out to the next approver in the process. So in this example, we've got 3 approvers on this particular requisition. So right from the email, they're able to do that, just a quick click, and they're on their way. And the system is updated, and it records all of that information to that requisition. So once it's approved, what happens next is the approved requisition would then be able to post. Perhaps you've got your internal career site in your employee intranet. Maybe you have a rule that you post things internally for a specific number of days and then roll it out to the your career site on your web page, which Cyber Recruiter has a link that gets put into your web page. It can be skinned to look exactly like your website, and it would become your career page. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Or maybe you post them at both places simultaneously. Then the next option out there is to upload that information. Maybe you utilize Monster, or Hot Jobs, Career Builder, etc. We have integration to those top job boards, and again, if you want this additional 700, would be that advanced posting option, which is a subscription. You still need to have an account with your Monster, Career Builder, etc., but it sends over the information in the format required by those particular job boards, and then it's posted there. And we're then at that point, we're into gathering the applicants for this position. So You know, it's really changed in the last 5 or 6 years, I would even say, how we're getting that. So many companies now are really utilizing the web to collect that information. Now, they can come directly off your career site. Maybe employees, we've got that self-service portal. Maybe you think, hey, we're really blue collar, and I don't know that they would go out, you know, to the website to look there. You can always have a computer as a kiosk in your location to let them access that information there. A recruiter could also enter the information. I don't know if you've ever had this happen to you where your boss drops in his nephew's application or resume, something of that nature. You can add them in that way too. We can scan them. We can also, again, the agency portal or maybe a referral out there. Regardless of how we're going to get them, all of these different options, it's creating this applicant profile into the system. And that has a few advantages there for you. We really want to get you out of that internal data entry mode, right? So we would like you to be able to just either scan or import a resume in that example where you get the nephew's resume. Perhaps you scan it and import it in, and it can begin filling out that employee or applicant record there. Also, this allows us to capture more information. We're going to look at this in a minute. We can have questions that we can ask all applicants, and then we can have requisition-specific questions. And we really, it's ideal because the way the system is set up, it can prevent those duplicate candidate records. So if you've ever had someone apply who comes out and applies for absolutely every position that you guys put out, and you've interviewed them and you really are not interested in them at all for any position, you can have a status on there, and regardless of what they apply for, they can have an overall status that may exclude them from that, you know, any positions you offer. So now we've got these applicants in the system. So what happens once they're in the system is a few things. We can, as I mentioned earlier, have knockout questions on the application itself. So if you've ever had people apply for positions and you may state that it requires a bachelor's degree in business, yet this applicant maybe only has a high school degree, and so because they don't meet the minimum requirements, they're not technically an applicant. So I don't want to forward that on. We can have the system automatically exclude them because they didn't meet the minimum requirements. But let's say we've got people who meet those requirements. Now, depending on how you'd like to use the system, in my example, I'm going to have those applicants are going to populate the recruiter's inbox. They can do a little bit of review on them, maybe look at the scoring, the way they've answered the questions, and then with a few clicks of the mouse, they can route it on to the hiring manager. And again, it can generate, this is another example of an actionable email. So we've got the applicant's resume here, or the full application, and directly from this email, that hiring manager could decide what disposition. Perhaps they would like to get them scheduled for a phone screen or bring them in, or they're just absolutely not interested. Directly from this email, this selecting of this information will update the database, and then the next action can take place. So if it's a phone screen, that can go back to the recruiter saying, you know, the manager has asked for a phone screen, and then you can get that scheduled. So you've done the phone screen, now you want to get them in and do an interview. So the system supports being able to do the scheduling of interviews in the system. You can have that little email go out to the applicant and the hiring manager. So this is an example of the hiring manager's email notification for this interview, and directly from here they can accept, you know, participating in the interview. And then also what's pretty cool here is from this email they can have access to, after they've completed the interview, to the interview evaluation form. So we'll look at that in a moment. And again, this is specific to you as an organization. But right after we've interviewed, we can have the evaluator, interviewer complete that form so that we are immediately reviewing that information. And we're answering the same questions on all of our applicants there. This also has a little calendar attachment here. And as I mentioned, it's got the attachment, the link to the interview evaluation form and their response there. Okay, so we've interviewed them. They're the perfect fit. They've passed all of our screening, and now we want to go ahead and hire them. So one of the greatest things about the Cyber Recruiter system is we're not going to have to rekey all of that information that we've gathered during the recruiting process. We are able to get the information into our system directly from Cyber Recruiter and have it populate information that they've provided during this. Now, we all know that there's information we need on the new hires that, you know, isn't collected during the recruiting process, but we can also send them perhaps one of our emails that we send out after they've accepted an offer. Gives them a list of information that they need to bring with them during the onboarding process, so information to complete their Form I-9. At the same time that we are notifying them, hey, you're great, you're hired, we can also, with a few clicks of the mouse, notify people that weren't selected that automatically that they weren't selected. Thank you very much. We'll keep you in mind for other opportunities. So part of the beauty of having a centralized system and building out this database of applicants is your ability to find them for other positions. So you may have hired this person, they're there a week, and you realize, ooh, big mistake. Well, you know, today's number 2 could be tomorrow's number 1 as far as hiring goes. So keeping yourself in communication with those applicants and notifying them in a timely fashion of what's going on just keeps you in your organization in a better light for those potential employees. So I've talked a little bit about sending out information and being able to have templates in the system. So, you know, why recreate the wheel when you don't have to? You've got some standardized templates you can create and make these specific to your organization. They have the ability to insert fields from the entire system so that, I'll use the example, when an applicant applies online, automatically they can receive a thank you for applying email with log-on credentials to the self-service site so that they could go in and apply for other positions or answer additional questions, things of that nature. And again, they'll stay in touch emails. Maybe your recruiting process is taking a little bit longer. Somebody had an emergency, went out of town, and you just want to make sure that the people that you've got in the pool are still available. Maybe you send out a quick email there. You know, this is taking us longer. I just want to make sure you're still available for employment, those kind of things. So as many of these as you want, and there's some great examples, and we'll look at those in just a moment. Reporting, got a very good report writer in it and has some very standard great reports with your key metrics, time to fill, requisition cost analysis, your affirmative action, all of those good things. Also, if you're a government contractor and you have to comply with the OFCCP regulations, we've also got the ability that anytime we're doing a search, we're documenting that, so we have that for reporting as well. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the product. And so that's where I am at right now. I'm first going to log into the system as a system administrator and HR professional, Veronica Bell. So when she comes in, she has an overall, comes to her home page, and she sees if there's anything that she needs to do, any approvals, any interviews she's got scheduled, or things like that. She can also go out and just look at the applicant database out here and see all of the applicants that are in the system, or perhaps the ones that were added just recently. So I can see these most recent applicants that have come in. And I could also come into my inbox, which has information, and it's specific to me as a recruiter. So perhaps I'm having these come in because I'm the recruiter on these and they answered the application questions correctly. Okay? So that's just a little navigation around here. We're going to create a requisition in just a moment, but I want to go out now to the career page. So this is my sample company, Dundin Enterprises, and this is their career page on their website, and we've skinned it to look like the rest of their website. So please know that during the implementation and setup, we'll work with you and your web designers to make sure that your career page reflects the information that you would like it to and really fits in with the look and feel of your website. So we've got our career site set up here that we can do some job browsing here, and it's really, there's a couple of options out here how we can set that up. This is done by the job type, any locations that you have, and we're looking for regular and full-time employment. So they could do a search there, or they could go right over in this particular site. I've got a list of all of the current openings out here. Okay, so I've got it's done out by my locations, and I can come out to my specific locations and look for any of those requisitions that are out there. And so this is just giving us a view of all of the requisitions that are out there. And if I follow the link here, it will go to the full job description. Okay, so you can get as you know, in depth as you would like to have it do. So if I look out here at my shipping clerk, I've got different responsibilities, obviously, out there. And then I could go ahead and apply now for this position. I could refer a friend, or maybe I've already got a profile with you guys and I can just log back in, or I can go back and start my job search all over. Okay, so just for a quick look here, these are my different locations. I'm going to go ahead and create a nurse position for one of my companies out here. So that's going to come up here on this Smith Street Clinic. So let's go ahead and do that now. So I want to come out here, and I'm logged in, and I'm going to do create a requisition. And in this demonstration version, I have established that all 3 versions are eligible for our company. So I could type in all the details. In this example, I'm going to use a requisition template out there. Okay, so here's now a library of my templates out there, and I want to find the one for the registered nurse. And this is how it's set up. I could at this time change where it's going to be, departments, locations, etc. But this is going to go to our Smith Street Clinic. Myself as Veronica Bell, I'm going to be the, actually I'm going to be the recruiter, and I'm going to have the, I'll go ahead and have John Wayne be the manager for this one. There's one position that we're recruiting for. I can have a single requisition with multiple positions, and when we look at another one, I've got an example of this. And I would like this person to start work on the 3rd of June. Any additional comments I might need to make, I can do that here. And I'm just going to go through. Here are all of the job descriptions and essential duties that have been set up for this template. I have the ability to go in and make some edits if I'd like to. I can provide other relevant job information here, and also a job board description if I want. Now here are some requisition specific questions. Okay, so I want to come in here, and I'm going to make this a public question. So I want to save that, and I'll continue in my process here, flagging on to continue. And then I'm going to make myself, just for time's sake here, the approver here. So now I can also go out, I've submitted that, and I could come out here and print this if I wanted to, right? So it tells me all of the questions on here, any skills requirement, and here's the history that I've created it, etc. Okay. So close that, and I can go to my home page now, and I can see that I've opened this up here. I'm going to go ahead and accept this and submit it. I'll go ahead and close that window. So now when I come out to my career page, just let me refresh this here, and I can go to my current openings. I can see now just that quickly this RN position, because it's gone through its approval process and we have it set to go directly out there, is now posted on our website. Okay. So very easy to go through. We're not having to worry about, you know, did we get IT to post that on the website, things of that nature. So now for our demonstration, let's go ahead and be an applicant for this. And I'm going to go ahead and apply now. And I've got this system set up so that it starts out the process by utilizing an applicant's resume. Okay. So I'm going to, in this example, be Nancy New Person. I've got a little resume, and it's very short and sweet out there. And based on that resume, it's begun to populate the application. Okay, so that's, again, doing some workflow for your applicants out there to make it work a little smoother. So I'm going to go ahead and have a, put in my email address, all that good stuff. See, I've done this before, perhaps. I've got some questions here that I ask everyone, so I want to know where they're finding these. So they found it out maybe on Career Builder, or actually let's just go ahead and say, you know, that we've maybe found it at Monster. And what's a desired salary? You don't have to add this in, but you certainly could. I'll just go to the next, and now I'm asking some work questions here. So yes, I can provide proof of citizenship or verification of my legal right to work at this company or in the U.S. I have never worked for this company before. I can start immediately. I've never been convicted of a felony, if there was. Why do I think I'd be a good fit for this organization? My cheery disposition. Okay, now I have some requisition-specific questions. These are those, am I a registered nurse? Maybe my license is pending, so I can answer yes here because I actually have a license. And then my number of years of experience. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and save those. It's parsed off of my resume as much as it could. Yes, I did graduate here. So it looked out and found on my resume that I went to Olympic College. I actually got a bachelor's degree, so I'm going to change that. And then everything looks good here, so I'll save those changes. I'll go to my next area here, and this is employment history. You can determine how many records they need to complete, right? So, or if there's gaps in their employment. So perhaps I have, and it's parsed off of my resume where I worked before. This is a hospital, and it's in Federal Way. I was a registered nurse. Mary McDonald was my supervisor, her phone number. And yes, you can contact her. And my ending salary. And I moved. Now going again next, I've asked for on this particular application, and you can have various applications. You may have a specific application for just your general rank and file positions. You may have a more in-depth application for your executives. Here I've got some skill categories and some skills that I've entered. So I want to add that information there on my skills. And again, it took off of the resume. She had listed there infection control, so it actually pulled some of those off of there for her. Now it's asking for my verification that I understand that I've answered this information to the best of my ability, yada, yada, yada. So I can sign off now as Nancy New Person and be on my merry way there. Okay. So when I go back to the cyber system and I come back to my home page, I can see immediately that Nancy has applied for this position. I mean, literally, that is how quick it goes. And I've got this system set up so that I want to be notified immediately when I get in this, when I get in here. And so this is a routing. I could go out and look at her application. In fact, I think I will. I want to go ahead and go to my inbox. And I can come out here and look at her entire application before I decide some disposition to do with it. So she applied for this. She answered everything correctly, so she became an applicant online. And now is where I see that it's been routed to me, and maybe I want to send this over to someone else right now, or I can do an interview, things of that nature. So what I'm looking at here is Nancy New Person's profile. So I've got a profile for her, and I see that she is attached to this requisition, this registered nurse position. Now I can also go over to this requisition, and I've got all of the information on this particular requisition, and I can look and see any of my applicants here. So there's Nancy showing there, and if I had multiple applicants for that, I could see that information directly here. And I can see there's a little F by her name here, and that means that there is a resume on file. So let's take a peek. This is that resume that I uploaded for her. So this was basically all that was on her resume, and so it took that information, and we can even view it in a formatted, or if they didn't include one or they wanted to add a new one, we could do that. You can see as a recruiter, we've got the ability to do some additional actions on that as well. Okay. So we've just seen posting a resume or a requisition, having that automatically update to our website, and then we've applied online as a particular applicant out there. Let's take a look. Let's go back to that requisition here, and we can see that Nancy is assigned here. We can see any additional information. Maybe I forgot during the setting up of this, I didn't document any costs associated with this. So I can at any time come in and say that I did, you know, I posted it in a local paper. And I can have that and collect any of that information at any time. Okay. I can also look through and go through the approvals. I can see the complete history on this requisition, everything that happened, right? So I've got all of this information is available to me in the system, as well as reporting. If I were to do a report on this particular requisition, I could have access to that information as well. Okay. Let's go ahead and look at another requisition. I have another requisition that I have multiple applicants for, and this was a shipping clerk. Okay, so I can come home or come and look at the various applicants that I have for this particular position. They're all listed here, and I can see I've routed Max's out there. I could do a quick link and go to their correspondence on this particular requisition as well. If I go back to my inbox as the recruiter here, I've had all of these applicants come in, and I wanted to take this view because I wanted to talk a little bit about scoring. So I have set up on a few of these requisitions that we're asking questions, and depending on how the applicant answers the question, there is scoring associated with them, okay? So if I just look at these applicants here, the shipping clerks, I can see that out of the questions answered, they had 5 points. We've got someone here with 7 and another with 5. Now, perhaps I've done my evaluation and I want to route these applicants over to the hiring manager. So I've got 3 applicants here, and I can directly from my inbox go ahead and route these, and I want to send these over to Clint Eastwood, and I want to, these are going to be associated with this shipping clerk position, and then I want to change all of their status to, I have routed to the hiring manager. Okay, so I've done my review back there. I can allow the response via email. I can update the records. I've got the ability to do a lot of things here, but I want to say, hey, here are for the shipping position. Save that, and now I've just routed them along on their merry way. Okay, so now it's changed their status with this requisition to this particular requisition to routed to hiring manager. Okay, so the applicants can have a couple of statuses. They've got an overall status. You might allow them to be applying for multiple positions, and they've got a status associated with each particular requisition they're associated with. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and go log out of this, and I want to log back in as Clint Eastwood. And so Clint has logged in. He has received information, perhaps those went out to him via the email system, okay? So he can look at, he knows he's got, he's the hiring manager here. He can come out here and look at that information. And when he looks at the information now associated with these 3 individuals for this shipping clerk position, he has got scoring in 3 levels here. Okay, so the first score here are how the applicant answered general application questions. So, are you available to start work immediately? Those kind of things. So that is the first score. The second score is associated with this particular requisition and the questions that were asked on this requisition. The last score, which is not showing here because we haven't interviewed any of these applicants yet, is based on an interview evaluation. So for time's sake, I've just pulled in and went into Mike Jones, his application. So these are how he answered the questions here. So he could provide work or citizenship information to verify that he's able to work in the country. He can start now. I can also go over here and look at any requisition-specific questions, right? So here is how he answered those requisition-specific questions. Oops, I come over here and look at the questions. So down here, these are what gave him the scoring, the information he provided here. I can look at the full report of this as well. Oh, sorry, that was Nancy's document that was still showing up there. And I can go ahead and take action on this as well, or do an activity from here. Maybe I went ahead and did a phone screen. So he came and saw me as Clint Eastwood, and it's associated with the shipping clerk, and really I just did a phone interview. And I can come over to the evaluation form here and say it was a phone interview. Seems to have met the experience requirements. He's met the education. It seems like he's exceeded on the job skills and knowledge, industry knowledge. It seems that he's met that. Communication skills, it's not really a requirement for this one, nor is presentation skills, nor supervisory skills. I can also determine a next step. Perhaps we want to have them in as, you know, maybe we want to make an offer to them immediately, that, or I want to schedule another interview, okay? And so some additional interviews, get him in here in person. So now with this particular interview, he's also got a score. So now when I go back and look at this particular requisition, the shipping clerk, I now see that he has those scores listed there as well. Now we talked a little bit about being able to ask these requisition-specific questions and do scoring. So I just wanted to look or show you really quickly how we do that, and it's very easy. So we've got a series of questions here, and I'm again logged in as an administrator, as full access to the system. And so I went here, and we'll look at this particular one. Do you have a forklift certification? So I did this as a drop-down question, and it's a yes or no, okay? So I've associated a value with that, and whether it's an acceptable answer or not. So if we are going to recruit for a position and I say that it requires a forklift certification and they answer no, and it's not acceptable, this could bounce them out of consideration for that position. Okay? So that's a good example there. Now, another example may be that we have a question here like experience using UPS shipping software, where we may want to rank it, and if they didn't have experience, maybe that's still acceptable, but they're not going to get any points for that. But the increasing amount of experience they have, they get additional points for that. So that's just a quick overview of how that works and how we can assign particular questions. We can have a group of questions that are automatic to this, all of our applications out there, and then we can also have ones that are specific to requisitions that you can assign with a specific requisition. So I'm not going to ask the CFO position if they've got UPS shipping software experience. We're able to really vary that. Last thing I wanted to show you guys today on the time we've got today is that we've got the applicant self-service. Okay, so we saw somebody apply for a position out there, and now I want to show you some increased functionality that we've got the ability to do. Okay, so they've created a profile. He's applied for a position, right? They could let them apply for other positions out here. They could go do some browsing. And here I see this is the one position I've already applied for. I could go browse from some additional positions and apply for those. If those have different questions, I may need to answer different information. If I voluntarily reported my affirmative action information, that is out there as well. You can choose to show applicants this. Once they've seen it, allow them to make edits to that. So you may allow them to answer the questions during the application process, but you don't want them to go back and change their answers later. So you've got the ability to do that. They could come out here and add additional employment history or things like that. Those are all pretty straightforward. There's other areas I wanted to show you here just because we didn't have them on an application that I was showing here. So maybe security clearance, military experience, our professional references, things of that nature. But what's really cool out here that I did want to take some time to look at is a job alert. Okay, so these are for people who really want to come to work for your organization and they want to be alerted to any new openings out here. So we've got our system set up that it will automatically do a 90-day alert. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new job alert, and I can look at either I want it based on a job type or maybe a division or a location at your organization. In this example, we'll do a job type. So I want to be notified of anything that comes up as an administrative as well. So I'm going to be alerted if there are new positions that are in that administrative or in the operations division. And what will happen is an email will go out to the person with the profile here and say, hey, a new position is open that you had asked to be alerted about. So, click here to go ahead and apply. So then they could go out to that other position. Let's just go out here and they could apply for any additional positions that you have or fill out the rest of that application. So that was the main items I wanted to go through today. I'm looking in my chat window. I don't see that I have any particular questions out there by the people that have watched the presentation today. If you think of anything and would like to type that in, we'd love to hear from you guys right now. If you have any additional questions, you can contact us as well. I want to thank you again for your time. I'll stay on the line for a while in case there are some questions that come through. If not, again, thank you for your time today and appreciate you guys coming to the webinar. Thank you.